guys, welcome back to Medical Coding with Blue. Today's episode is all about what to expect in your first 2 years as a medical coder. If you're brand new to my channel, welcome. I am Blue, medical coder. Okay guys, so if you have taken your medical coding certification exam and now you have passed and you are ready to get out there and become a medical coder, your first 2 years is going to kind of look like this for most people, right? In the beginning, it is challenging to get your first job. And I don't say that to discourage you. I say it to prepare you because this is a normal part of this industry, unfortunately. Now, because we have to know what doctors know while never having gone to medical school, this is a very tall order, but not an impossible order, okay? I'm just saying. Now, it's possible even if you have had no prior medical experience and background, it is still possible to be a successful medical coder. But you do have to apply yourself when it comes to studying, okay? I did not have any experience in medical when I first started, okay? I just love to read. And if you have that, that is a great thing because you're gonna need that, all right? And when you pass your certification, the clock is gonna start ticking, okay? This is the start of your 2-year cycle as a medical coder, all right? Now, I say in 2 years what you should expect in your first 2 years because that is your first reporting cycle, right? And your reporting cycle, no matter if you have a medical coding certification with AHIMA, the CCS, the gold standard of medical coding credentials, the CCA, the CCSP, if you have any one of these, if you have one of the degree designations, the RHIA or the RHIT, you have 2 years to report your CEUs. If you are with AAPC, the American Academy of Professional Coders, you also have 2 years to report your CEUs. Now, depending on which certification you have, it's going to be how much CEUs you're going to be required to report during this 2-year period. Now, they will tell you this when you pass. Both associations, of course, send a congratulations letter or notification, and they tell you, okay, clock's gonna start ticking now, and it tells you how much CEUs you're supposed to report. So for example, if you have one of the degree designations, RHIA or the RHIT, you have 30 for just the one, okay? 30 CEUs for just the one. If you have the medical coding certifications, the CCS, the CCA, or the CCSP, it is 20 for just one. Now, once you start going up in credentials or you have more, it's going to be more, but you'll be able to find that little grid on the AHIMA website. With AAPC, if you have one, it is 36 continuing education units to report in your 2-year reporting cycle. Now, in this first 2 years, you can collect your CEUs at any time. What you cannot do is collect your CEUs before you get certified. Both associations do not allow this, okay? Any CEUs that you earn has to be earned after you get your certification, all right? In order to count towards your certification. Now, if you're with AAPC, and let's just say, for example, you get 40 CEUs, you managed to get 40 in those 2 years, the 4 will not carry over, okay? So don't go crazy and spending a lot of money getting a lot of CEUs when you're not going to be able to carry them over, okay? So that's just something that you ought to know. It's the same thing with AHIMA. You're not going to be able to carry those over either, okay? So just make sure that you pay attention and you make sure that as the time goes in your first reporting cycle, that you are reporting your CEUs at a steady pace, okay? You can find lots of free ones on LinkedIn. There's a lot of vendors on LinkedIn. The more connections you make, the more you'll see them, okay? You can also Google them. Don't ask me because I don't give out that information, okay? But there's plenty of places where you can find them on the internet, okay? But just make sure that they are approved with your association. AHIMA does accept AAPC CEUs, so that is totally fine, just so you know, okay? Now, while you're gathering your CEUs and however many you need to report, okay, and you do have to report these. This is how you maintain your credential. I look at it as feeding the credential. If you do not feed your credential will not survive, okay? So you want to make sure that you are, in fact, reporting your CEUs like you need to, okay? Keep your certificates together, because that way, just in case you need to show them, all right? So that way you can report them and report them at a steady pace. That's just my advice anyway. Now, looking for a job. So when you're looking for a job, your employer may give you CEUs as a condition of employment, or a benefit of employment. That's at my facility, that's what they do. They give us CEUs, which is fantastic. I don't have to worry about that. But I also go to conference as well. So I'm able to collect a lot of CEUs whenever I go to conference as well, because I go to the AHIMA National Conference. AAPC has their conferences as well. They've had some very exciting locations for their conferences. I've heard Vegas was one of them. I wish AHIMA would go over there. I'm just saying, AHIMA, we're looking at you. Or maybe Hawaii. I know the American Medical Biller Association, AMBA, they're going over there right now at the end of the month or in April, something like that. They're going to have theirs in Hawaii. So, but that's something different from medical coding. So that's the American Medical Biller Association, something different, okay? But they have their thing over there, which I think is awesome. But anyway, so you have all of that, right? Now you got to prepare yourself with a really good resume. I always talk about the resumes because it is so important, guys. That's your talking piece, because they don't see you yet. They see your resume first. And so you don't want a bad resume. You want a good resume. So just make sure that when you are sending out your resume, that it is well written. I am a resume writer myself. My rate and contact information is in the description box below. Make it on one page. Yes, it can be up to 2 pages, but if you are a brand new medical coder with no past medical coding experience, it really needs to be on 1 page, okay? That's just my strong advice anyway. That is my professional opinion, my professional advice as a resume writer myself, okay? I have written many resumes specifically for medical coders. In fact, I can write resumes for just about any profession because I do my research. So I'm just saying. But arm yourself with a really good resume. Make sure that you are applying at a lot of places, okay, guys? You can't be picky about where you're starting, okay? Don't set those barriers up like, oh, I can only work these hours, or I can only work remotely because I want to travel around. It's not like that. You need time to learn from other medical coders, at least time to help yourself to learn the electronic health record, which you will be learning in the first 2 years when you get yourself into a position, okay? And don't be afraid to start in alternative medical coding position, alternative jobs to get to medical coding, like billing or prior authorizations or something like that, or charge entry. While these positions are not coding, they do have access to the codes, and they do have access to the electronic health records as well. So that's something that's going to be a transferable skill for you. It is a fantastic way to get yourself immersed into the field and it not be so overwhelming, because it can be overwhelming, especially when you're used to the book and it's way different from what they write out in the real world, these doctors, okay? So try to start at some place, okay? I'm always gonna strongly recommend that for new people, because I don't believe that new coders should be working remotely right away. It does not mean that you can't get a job working remotely. You can, but I'm trying to tell you that you want to be set up for success. And you may think, oh no, I'm smart, I can handle it, I can do it. You probably can, but what are you missing out on, okay? Remember, this is critical development time as a medical coder. This is going to be your make or break. A lot of times people don't think about this either. They get their certification, they get out there and they start working, and then all of a sudden they get overwhelmed and then they just quit. And then they say, well, no, I didn't like being a medical coder anyway. No, you went in too fast and, basically coming in hot, and not giving yourself the proper way to learn things, because if you had learned it properly, maybe you wouldn't have ran away from it so fast. I'm just saying, okay? And you can think that I'm discouraging you all you want to. No, I am being that voice of reason. And again, I have nothing to sell you as far as like getting into the field or not, you know, whatever the case may be. I'm not selling you anything when it comes to that. What I'm trying to do is trying to tell you from a veteran coder standpoint what the reality actually is. Okay, so just putting that out there. Not to say that the remote work won't come later, because yes, it will. Absolutely it will. And that will be great, because then you will have worked in a facility, you will have understood what it is, and you will have understood how to start working in the electronic health record, and you're not going to be so lost when you're working at home. Okay, so that's just something that you should know in these first 2 years. And then, of course, when you start your job, right, then you're going to start learning a little bit about politics in the office, in the workplace, right? And that's going to be like, well, you know, you're going to have veteran coders, and sometimes you may know more than them, because even though you're brand new, you're freshly trained. And sometimes veteran coders can get stuck in their ways, and sometimes they just don't want to learn anything new. And then here you come along, you've got all this new knowledge. So you have to learn to be respectful, of course, always be respectful to the veteran coders, but at the same time, you want to be able to speak up and share your knowledge as well. Ask questions, make sure you're taking notes. That is very important. When I see somebody that's brand new that's not taking notes, my patience with them gets very short, because the simple fact that when I'm taking the time to explain something to you, you need to be writing it down, because if you have to come to me again, I may not be so willing to share with you what I've just shared with you, because it takes time, okay? And you have to look at it from the veteran coder's standpoint as well. And sometimes you may say, well, Blue, I just started and they just kind of threw me in and they expect me to know. Okay, then you need to start building your network on your own, okay? And that may mean looking for a mentor. A mentor will help you for free, all right? Or you may have to hire a tutor and somebody that may be able to answer these questions for you. Like, say, for example, you get into a specialty clinic, like let's just say mother baby, and you say, okay, well, I'm really lost and I tried to ask my coworkers for help, and you know, they don't really want to help me, so maybe if I hire a tutor, maybe that might help me. So a tutor may be able to explain things to you that you're kind of confused on. Like if you're saying, well, I don't understand, you know, when does this apply, when does that apply, and they may be able to talk those things through with you, okay? And the other thing that I recommend also is going back on your workbook and then maybe really digging into into that specialty that you're in, and then maybe working with the tutor on that portion, so that way it's not going to be so foreign to you when you go back to work and you're looking at the records, right? And so maybe that might help you some. But when you are brand new in the workforce, get ready for some of those things, because they will test you. And some test you in that some of these veteran coders will put you through your paces, and they shouldn't, but they do. Okay, let's just be realistic about it. You know, they're going to not, some of them will not help you because they say, well, no one helped me, so I'm not going to help you. I don't think that that's right, but that's the thing that happens. And I'm always willing to help, but I also need to see the person helping themselves too. And I need to see them writing down these notes. So that's the thing, you know. And I understand it's a lot of information. That's why you have to take notes. You know, go to the dollar store and get yourself a little notebook, or like a spiral notebook. I got tons of spiral notebooks everywhere. But tons of spiral notebooks, so that way you can take your notes and then you can, you know, remember, and it'll be a lot easier for you, okay? You're going to be learning a lot of new things right away. There's going to be days when you're going to be very overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? This is just the shaping process. Go with it. Lean into those feelings, but then give yourself permission to take a break, okay? And not run from it. Sometimes it's very hard to get people to commit to things nowadays, right? Because if it's not cool, if it's not fun, if it's not making them a lot of flashy money right away, they don't want it. Rather than just waiting through that time and getting through those difficult periods where you don't feel so confident, because you won't. And if you say, well, I don't like to feel stupid. Guys, it's not about feeling stupid. This is something that is new to you, okay? And when you think about these things, right? When you think about being a medical coder has to know what a doctor knows while never having gone to medical school. We have to understand this when we're reading. And this requires us to have exceptional knowledge in anatomy, medical terminology, and pathophysiology. Why? Because there's a lot of times when you're looking at the documentation and it's not going to be the same words that's in the book. So you're going to have to be able to understand that and be able to interpret that. But those things come with time, okay? Again, I'm not telling you so that you get overwhelmed. I'm telling you so that you can be prepared. Don't you want to be prepared? Because I would want to be prepared. This would be the thing that I would want somebody to tell me if I was brand new and starting, okay? Like, oh my gosh, what should I expect? Well, you're going to expect to have to learn a lot of things on your own as well. Learn to find your resources. Coding Clinic, CPT Assistant can be found if you are using an encoder. Typically, because I use the 3M encoder, and there's a little stack of books that you can click on, and it says references, and then you have Coding Clinic and CPT Assistant, and those things are filled with all kinds of good information. You can put in any topic, right? Whether it's fractures, whether it's mother-baby, you can put in anything, and trust me, a question will come up, okay? And so that way you can do more of your research. Your coding manuals have lots of information in them. Me personally, I strongly recommend the ICD-10-CM Expert for Physicians. It is a fantastic book. This is not an ad for Optum, but I love that book. Okay, I love that book because before every single chapter, there is examples and they have the rationale and they have all of those questions in there. They have lots of tips throughout the book. People have different opinions on these books, but to me personally, that's what I love. I love Optum and I love the ICD-10-CM Expert for Physicians, okay? I will recommend that all the time, all right? And I've recommended it many times and people do quite well with it. CPT, the AMA Professional Edition, that's the one that we all need to use when we're, of course, taking our exams, but it also has a lot of really good information. So make sure that you're looking at the appendixes because that's where there's a lot of really good extra information, okay? So make sure that you think about that. In your first 2 years, you've got to know where your resources are and your resources that are going to be able to have legs to stand on. Not websites like welovetocode.com, I don't even know if that's a website, but I'm just saying, you want to be able to get information from Coding Clinic, CPT Assistant, or from the manuals themselves or from the guidelines, okay? Because that's really what's going to help you. So those things are going to be able to set you up for success. And making sure that when you are communicating with your coworkers and you're asking them questions, be very gracious and thank them for their time, thank them for their wisdom, all right? And if they're saying something that you're not quite sure about, or maybe you disagree, make sure that you ask them why. And then if they've already explained it, then make sure that you're looking at your reference to see if, okay, which one is which, okay? Because that's the thing. You can't just blindly follow people, all right? You do still have to question, but you want to be able to make sure that you're understanding what's happening too, because at the end of the day, that's your name that's going on that code selection, okay? So just make sure that you do that. It's very, very important, okay? And that's that one. The main thing is during the first 2 years is that you can't quit. You cannot quit, whether it is your job or the fact that you're looking for a job or just being in this career field. If where you are is not where you want to be for whatever reason, either the people, the money, or whatever the case may be. And remember, you got to work yourself up, because we never talk about money and specifics on my channel. But a lot of times people are getting into this because they want to follow the money. They want the money. They want the money. But what they're not doing is they're not studying so they can get that type of money. Because that's the thing, guys. It's going to be about your knowledge and how it applies with the coding and everything that's going to make a difference. All right. And so that out of the way, you want to make sure that you are doing things in these first 2 years, like being patient with the process. You're going to feel like you don't know anything. You're going to question yourself, but you keep sticking with it no matter what, and you will be rewarded for your efforts. Think about that. When I was in my second job, I had to move. Don't write to me and tell me that you can't move, because I'm telling you my story, okay? When I got my second job, it was with the temp agency, and they sent me to my second job, and I had to move. I had to move 8 hours away from my hometown. And because I had to move away from my hometown, now I'm on the hook, right? Because my mom helped pay for my move and get me set up an apartment and everything and get me going. So that's all that money that's going out, right? And so now I have to make sure that I stay there. I can't just give up. I can't just say, oh, I didn't like it. You know, I had a bad day. I want to come home. Or no, I don't understand what I'm doing, but I just want to come home. I couldn't do that. So I stuck it out. No matter what, I did not give myself the option to give up. And that's the same thing that you have to do, friends. You cannot give up in these first 2 years. Whether it is that you're struggling to find a job, or whether it is that you found a job and you're struggling to learn. Sometimes when people tell me, well, Blue, you know, I don't know if I'm going to be able to keep my job because, you know, I don't understand what's happening or whatever. If that's the case, if you don't understand what you're doing, then you've got to get back to studying. So that way you do understand what's happening. And the great thing about working is that you can isolate what it is that's throwing you, whether it is evaluation and management, whether it is a particular specialty in coding, or with CPT coding, or maybe modifier application. Those things can be repaired with time, okay? And so just keep that in mind when you're out there. Be patient through this process. And if you don't like the pay that you're getting at your current place, then make sure that you get back out there and you start applying. Get what you can learn from that employer and just keep applying until you find a place that you like. And if you say, well, you know, I started off in HCC, which is risk adjustment, and it's just diagnosis coding, and I'm kind of bored and I've been there for 3 months, will that make me look bad? No, because you're still brand new. And HCC, or risk adjustment, is really not meant to be long term, because what happens is that when you are doing risk adjustment, it's just diagnosis coding. So if you're not practicing, which a lot of you don't, you're going to lose your CPT skills, your E&M skills, your modifier application skills. So you want to make sure that if you're going to take time to do risk adjustment coding, which is very important, but you're going to keep that time short, less than 6 months, and then you're going to move on. Okay. It is okay. Even if your job was only 3 months, that's okay too. A lot of employers understand that with coding, because of course there's like contract coding and things like that, and it's okay. But they just need to see that you're progressing. And what did you do? What specifically did you work on? What kind of specialties? And that really helps in their decision making, okay, about you. But it's the first 2 years is going to be a roller coaster. So get ready, because sometimes when you think you've got it down, you know what you're doing, there comes something else new. So always be prepared in that. And the best way to prepare yourself is to continue to study, read those coding guidelines in their entirety, at least when they come out once in their entirety in October, when they release the new coding guidelines. That way you can be prepared. Okay, so that's it. That's my show for today. But if this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.